try to stand. Will that work if we stand?
Yeah, the mics are down too low.
All right.
We'll just roll from one
Right.
side to another to get it around. Well, in fact, I have an extra.
This thing's probably interference. Oh no, it's your phone. Please do it. But well, I don't care. It's interfering with my recording. Thank you. Good evening, everybody. We have a few announcements to make. I think that the governor needs no introduction, neither does the county executive. We'd like to announce that I've declared an emergency, a state of emergency for the city. That allows us to do a number of things. One is to request the governor for some help from the National Guard, which I've done. It allows us to impose a curfew from 7 in the morning until daybreak, from Denny to Yustler, from the freeway to the waterfront. And now I will be the first to suggest that we're not going to be able to enforce this totally, that obviously if people have business to do downtown, that will give the police a chance to stop and ask why they're there. Really urging people to give us the streets so that we can get ready for tomorrow. And then just a few words of thanks first to the police department, who under significant large circumstances that the city has not experienced in a long time, did a very good job out there working with the protesters. And they've worked many 12-hour shifts now in a row, and that it's really important to get added support both from the National Guard. I might say that we've had lots of help from King County Metro, from other jurisdictions, from Pierce County, from the State Patrol all day long, and they've been very helpful. I'd like to thank the protesters, that there were a lot of them out there who helped us, that if they hadn't been intent on maintaining a peaceful demonstration, that it would have been much harder for our police department to do their job. It's unfortunate that a few of them did not have the same agenda and were absolutely determined to get all of your attention and to, I hope, not divert the attention from legitimate concerns. Our labor unions, our citizens who care about the environment, our citizens who care about human rights, the faith-based communities who marched, all of them conducted themselves very well. And if you saw the labor march, we were very pleased with that as well. And I think that's borne out in the fact that there's something less than a dozen injuries, and I'm told none of them serious. I'm not happy about the property damage. Nobody can be happy about what happened today. I also would like to offer to the delegates of the ministerial that we're apologize for the inconvenience. We're happy they were able to start their meeting and had, I'm told, a productive session this afternoon. And that it's important for, if we really want to see change, those of you who are asking for it, that we need to give them a chance to get to work on it. And so I think that's another message that we want to send today. After that, I guess I would leave Gary. We've been in contact all day long with both the delegates, with the White House personnel, with the FTC. And has already responded. You may have something to say, Gary, sure, on this.
Well, thank you very much, Mayor Schell. And again, I want to echo the comments made by the mayor, and want to extend our thanks to all the law enforcement people who have held up under very trying circumstances, trying to keep their composure and their calm, and also to the organized protesters who really tried to keep the situation under control while still making a very loud statement about the need for environmental standards, labor standards, and human rights standards in all of the trading countries with the United States. This afternoon, Mayor Schell asked for help, and we responded affirmatively. At about 3 o'clock, we called out and have activated the National Guard. We're very concerned about public safety. We're very concerned that the Seattle Police Department and the State Patrol officers that are already on the scene, as well as the King County police officers, have the help that they need in order to keep the peace, to keep things calm, and so that no one is truly injured. while still respecting the rights of those who have concerns about the WTO to express their opinions. We have deployed roughly 2 units or 2 task forces of the National Guard. They'll be available first thing tomorrow morning. They will not be armed. They will be serving in a support capacity for the trained law enforcement that are already here. But these 2 units of the National Guard are in fact trained in crowd control and are available to help if necessary. Again, they will not carry weapons, and they are really here to help and to assist in any way possible. It's really critical that we provide some relief for local law enforcement, many of whom have been on duty for more than 24 hours. And our purpose here is to do nothing more than to make sure that these expressions of concern about the WTO and trading issues remain peaceful and that no one gets hurt. At the same time, we'll be redeploying some additional 300 members of the Washington State Patrol also to help, but they will not be pulled away from current assignments so that no other parts of the state are being left unattended and that law and order is maintained in other parts of the state. So we're pulling people who are on vacation, who are off duty from all parts of the state to bring them in to help tomorrow morning and all through the day, and they'll remain available as long as needed.
I would like to make just 2 other statements before I introduce Ron. And one is that this has been contained. While you're watching this on your television at home tonight, know that the city is safe, that we have people responding to 911 calls, that there's no reason to be alarmed. This is really contained to our downtown corridor and the areas of the march, for the Labor March. And so you shouldn't get the impression the whole city is under siege. It's not under siege at all. That this is a planned demonstration. We're not happy with the outcome, what had to happen today. And in that regard, I guess I also would like to address all of the protesters who were out there with strong feelings about legitimate issues, that you can help us tomorrow, that the point's been made on all of these issues. It's been made solidly to the delegation, to the ministers. Tomorrow, please stay home. If you're going to meetings, that's fine. If you're going to events, but do not occupy the streets tomorrow as we did today. Give us a chance to deal with those who we believe came from out of town with different agendas, and that we will not have tomorrow the kind of day we had today in our downtown city.
I too wish to apologize to the delegates. I'm sorry that their meeting today could not go forth as planned, that it was delayed. I just want to applaud those people who demonstrated today and did so in a peaceful fashion in regards to the issues they feel strongly about. There are several issues. Sheriff Dave Reichert will continue and is committed to continue to support the Seattle Police Department and the State Patrol and others and the public safety issues that surround the WTO. We will emphasize increased security on our buses. We had several of our buses were boarded today. The drivers were assaulted. We will not accept that. So we will beef up our security on our buses. We have several buses that were immobilized, batteries being pulled and tires being slashed today as well. So we will increase our emphasis in making sure that our buses can continue to provide service to the people who work and live downtown. That they can feel safe on our buses, and that our buses will continue to move, and that our drivers will continue to feel safe as they do their job. But again, we have a very small group of people who made who made it real difficult. There were thousands of others today who expressed their opinions in a very peaceful fashion. And the WTO will continue to go forward, but we want to make sure that the passengers on our buses can feel safe, and they will feel safe on our buses.
Questions?
When was the last time Seattle or in the state of Washington saw unrest of this magnitude?
Arrest of this magnitude? Unrest. I think you probably have to go back to the 60s and 70s for that, during the days of the Vietnam marches and the civil rights marches.
How are you going to get the protesters out of the streets tonight?
Well, 2 things. One, I'm asking, and I think a lot of them are, those who've got from organized groups who we've been working with all along, who wanted to make a point today and did, to now help us and go home.
You're
So we have a
asking
chance,
them
I'm
to.
asking them
If
to.
they refuse?
That's why I made the declaration of emergency, so we can impose a curfew in our downtown corridor, and that we will be doing what it takes to ensure that we've got secure downtown.
Do you have a
Is
place?
the National Guard available this evening?
Not
or
this evening,
Not until tomorrow?
tomorrow morning.
And do you have a place for them all? If you need to put thousands or hundreds of protesters in a safe place overnight?
No.
You don't have a place?
We do have a place that's called the King County
Jail,
Jail. and
right.
That's where they have to go.
Maybe
that's
not
where they'll be.
thousands, but we've got Sandpoint facilities that I hope we don't have to arrest people and put them in jail, that they will find a way out of downtown as they
Mayor,
find a
are
way
you
in.
aware of what's going on in the street right now with the police department?
If you're talking about right this minute, no, I'm here.
Right this minute, the police department is in several intersections, exploding flashbang grenades, tear gas, crowds are chanting. Is this a show of force? What is happening in the street right now?
And what, Chief, you want to answer that?
I can tell you that we
Can you
have.
come to the microphone, Chief?
Well, first of all, let me just say that Chief Stamper and I just came from a helicopter tour over the downtown area, and most of the crowds have dispersed. There are some intersections in which there are protesters blocking the middle of the intersection. But if you actually look from the air, you can see all the tens of thousands of peaceful protesters actually dispersing and going home, catching the bus to get home, or getting back to the Seattle Center to get in their cars and go home.
What's the justification for the curfew?
Well, but we do still have a few hundred or several hundred of protesters who are occupying various streets, and
But aren't they nonviolent?
The bulk of the protesters were nonviolent. But if you,
using rubber bullets on unarmed protesters?
we're doing what it takes to protect the citizens
I'm
of this
asking you whether
community.
you're using rubber bullets against
I'll let the chief.
unarmed protesters.
We are using a variety of non-lethal weapons.
Can you answer the question, are you using rubber bullets?
I'm not going to explain to you the specific tactics or the tools that we're using. I will tell you, however, that we are using non-lethal weapons to ensure for the safety of all of the people downtown.
Can rubber bullets poke out eyes?
Any weapon can potentially cause grave injury. The kinds of weapons that we're talking about are not to be taken lightly. They are serious business, but the important thing is that used in the hands of well-trained police officers, and our police officers are well-trained, they are non-lethal.
Gentlemen,
We have no injuries
I
reported.
understand that you're saying this is isolated and that this is contained and it is peaceful, but while you're saying that right now on all 3 television stations and on TV screens across Seattle, people are seeing Seattle police in riot gear, firing tear gas, rubber bullets, and flashbang grenades, protesters burning things and chanting at the police. It looks like a riot.
That has been going on all day long, and we've been watching the same television, and that's true. I said it was contained in downtown, and that is why we're taking firmer issues, or firmer approaches. And that we'll be starting to do what we can to make sure that this city is secured, and that asking the protesters who worked with us,
Chief,
who worked carefully with us,
would you say as of this moment
to
the
leave.
police department is in control?
Yes.
But from a public safety standpoint, the
Yes.
last thing we want to do is declare a state of emergency. The fact that the mayor has declared a state of emergency, which we support completely, is testament to the fact that we have many demonstrators who in fact have elected not to behave nonviolently, and we were going to deal with that.
Chief Stamper, Liam Halligan, Channel 4 News in the UK. As early as 11 o'clock this morning, outside the Sheraton, within 3 hours of the President saying that the demonstrators had a right to be heard, the police was using tear gas and rubber bullets. Wasn't that an early reaction, an overreaction?
I don't believe it was an early reaction or an overreaction. I think by that time, 11 o'clock this morning, we had demonstrators who were rushing police lines, who were in fact engaged in destructive behavior. We had damage.
I was there, and the demonstrators were seated and chanting. They were seated. They weren't rushing. They were seated when the first tear gas was used.
And one of the techniques or tactics that has been used by the demonstrators, I hope everybody can understand this, is to fall in behind those who are seated, who may in fact have their arms linked, and who are behaving nonviolently, and from that perspective, creating a situation that requires our police officers to balance the safety of those immediately in front of them vis-a-vis those who are engaged in more violent forms of action behind the lines. And I've also been out there as well.
In the 90 minutes before the
One at
state
a
of
time.
emergency takes effect, before 7 o'clock, what are the intentions between 5:30 this afternoon and 7 o'clock. Are the protesters going to be allowed to continue roaming downtown? Are they going to be, as we've heard, pelted with tear gas and attempted to be rounded up, or what?
There are two parts to this. The state of emergency has already been declared, and that the curfew does not actually take effect until 7 p.m. does not make that state of emergency null and void. We are, in fact, at those intersections where we're experiencing violent confrontations, committed to moving those demonstrators out of there and returning the streets to safety and sanity, because right now we do have a number of intersections where violent demonstrators have in fact taken over those
And
intersections.
at those intersections where the demonstrators are just present, will there be attempts
To move them,
as
yes,
well?
absolutely.
We're
To
gonna
do
move-
what we've been doing all day today, which is to move them peacefully.
And let me stop a second. You need to, and one question at a time, you need to understand that this administration had people who marched in the 60s. We've been on the other side, that we did everything we can to be sure that this is the last thing I want to do is be a mayor of a city where I had to call the National Guard, where I had to see tear gas in the streets. It makes me sick. At the same time, we have a city that needs to be protected, and we have a meeting that needs to occur. We have responsibilities to all of our citizens. When there were people out there with not peaceful intentions, the vast bulk of those people marching today worked with us, they behaved themselves, they made their point, they made it in many different ways. And that was encouraged, in fact supported. We wanted them to be heard. We agreed that the WTO would be better open and more accountable, and that the issues that were being discussed were valid ones. But once people crossed the line and started disrupting the peaceful demonstrations, they harmed not only the city but the people making those protests, and they took away the message, and that's the sadness.
That there were going to be anarchists out there, that there were going to be people who weren't with these peaceful demonstrators who've been cooperating with you. Has the plan for dealing with I mean, you had to have a plan, and what was that plan, and is it working? Because I just walked through downtown and it looks like bedlam.
A lot of the anarchists did what you might expect from an anarchist. They came with pickaxes and broke windows, and as the chief said, stood 10 rows behind or 5 rows behind in front of innocent people, and we did what we had to do to ensure that nobody got hurt. 12 people out of 50,000 have been injured or something along those lines. One King County officer slightly injured. While there's been property damage, that's very unfortunate, but there has been no serious personal injuries.
People sprayed with pepper spray in your eyes?
I can't answer that question.
Not unless they receive medical attention.
It includes whoever went to medical attention.
You did have a plan.
We can take 2 more questions.
Chief, you did have a plan to deal with this. Can you talk to me tell me what that plan was to deal with the anarchy, and did it work?
In this country, you can't arrest somebody before the fact.
Well, and that's obvious, but I watched a lot of vandalism out there, Mayor, and I didn't see a lot of arrests being made. I mean, can you talk to me a little bit about that tactic, Chief?
I'd be happy to talk about that tactic. We have said from the beginning, and we maintain to this moment, that those who have, prior to the time that the state of emergency was declared, have every right to take to the streets, to assemble peacefully, to express their points of view. Our obligation is to protect that right. What happened today is that large numbers, much larger numbers than I think anybody could have predicted, including those who did not participate in our planning, demonstrators who did not meet with police officials and others to actually work out arrangements for a peaceful demonstration, did some things that they really should not have done, and that has, I think, reflected badly on everyone.
Did you have a plan to deal with that?
Yes.
And is that plan in effect?
The plan included contingencies up through and including calling in the National Guard.
And that's the last ditch, that's your last ditch?
That is our last ditch.
So up to this point, everything else has failed?
I think everything else has...
That's somebody else.
Well, I just am trying to
A lot of people are very concerned. I mean, let's take this out of the protesters for a moment. And there are people who are scared to come downtown, scared to go to work tomorrow. What kind of assurances can you give them, if any, that this isn't going to happen again tomorrow?
We're going to do everything we can.
I can tell you that I had friends.
Safe environment.
I can tell you that I had friends in downtown Seattle in the restaurants last night, even while there were some protests going on, and they said that the service was great because there weren't that many people in the restaurants, and so people. But if you actually go a few blocks away from the heart of the convention center, people are at work. The shops are open. If you are able to look at it from the air, people are going about their business. So
I would.
In the buildings where this is
No,
going
no.
on, there are people
Will you let me answer one question, Tom, and I want to also respond to that. I walked from the Paramount Theater to my office. I walked to the Paramount Theater. I live downtown. And I said that this has been primarily contained to an 8-block area around the convention center in our retail core area. And 90% of the people in the streets were friendly. They were our sons and daughters. They were our neighbors. They were the people who we work with.
Yes.
And that there's no reason to be afraid of them. At the same time, when some people took advantage of everybody, those people are going to be dealt with firmly, as they should be, once they cross the line. And we're not going to have a day tomorrow like we had today. And that is why we're doing everything we can, including asking those who protested today to work with us as they did today, and don't come downtown and be on the streets. Go to the seminars, go to the sessions that are going, use it as a chance to listen and learn about these important issues, but do not come downtown because it will hurt the ability to get this message through to the World Trade Organization.
Will the state of the emergency remain till the end of the summit?
It'll stay as long as we need it, and we'll do what it takes to get the job done. They can be in.
There are a lot of people did not ask permission to demonstrate. You mean that every citizen has to call you?
No.
To ask you to demonstrate?
No.
And if they want to be in their streets, it's their streets?
It's a question of having marches and demonstrations and engaging in illegal conduct like sitting in the middle of an intersection. Not something every citizen.
Gentlemen, can I ask you, we're on live Channel 7 right now.
Okay.
I realize
Thank you.
I can have you go back over some of the things we talked about earlier. Can you tell us right now, Mayor, that the streets in the city of Seattle are under control?
Yes.
I think it's safe to say that we have demonstrators who are continuing to express their points of view. Most continue to do that nonviolently. Some have elected to do it violently. As long as that condition exists and persists, it's unacceptable. So we have an obligation to deal with it.
What about the National Guard tomorrow, Governor? What's their role going to be in this?
they will be in a support capacity. You may not even see them, but they will be there to help. They will be unarmed, but they're trained in crowd control. And we will have approximately 200 National Guards people throughout the area.
And they're in support of the SPD. We're keeping our people who've been trained in dealing with crowds in the front.
One last question.
That was the last question.
Can we be out there seeing what's going on?
Do you wish things had turned out differently today?
Do I wish things had turned out differently today? You bet. Don't you?
Mayor Schell, does the rubber blind us to the media?
No, it's like
Gary Locke and police chief Stafford, county executive, county clerk.
Ask the lady. Ask Francis.
Tonight, from 7 until dawn, and by morning, the National Guard.
In case you get someone, I don't know if they're where they're going. I'll get this done. They're usually
I don't, I mean, I've been